Hey, what's up guys? Alan here. Welcome to another episode of Thoughts on This, where I speak on my thoughts. And today, in honor of Asian Heritage Month, I'll be giving my thoughts on Disney and Pixar's Turning Red, which released straight to Disney Plus back in March of 2022 and released in theaters earlier last year. The film was directed by Domei Shi, who won the Oscar for her 2018 short Bao. Cast includes Sandra Oh, James Hong, Maitreya Brahmakrishnan, and up-and-comer at the time, Rosalie Chang. Grammy winners Billie Eilish and Phineas O'Connell wrote 3 original songs, while Black Panther's Ludwig Göransson wrote the score. The film centers around 13-year-old Maylin Lee, who gets blessed with a curse where she transforms into a giant red panda when she gets too excited. Turning Red marks Shi's first feature and the first Pixar film to be directed solely by a female director. Now, what do I think about this film? So, I've seen every Pixar film up to date, and this is very different from their repertoire, and I am aware about some of the negativity about this film, but I liked it. I liked that they tried something new in terms of the story, animation, and message. It was refreshing and weird in the best way possible. And I think the reason for its negativity is because people who've seen Pixar films before Turning Red are used to those types of films, and this one stands out for what was seen from Pixar in the past. And I think it's a good thing that it's not like any of their other films that they did before, because if it was, it would be kind of boring. They do have to switch it up every now and then, and that's exactly what they did. They took a huge risk, and I think it paid off. It was pretty well executed. The subject matter and reference to periods was definitely something you would have never expect from Pixar, and I thought it was bold of them to make light of this topic. While it is more mature for kids, I think it was handled the best way it could without making it too R-rated. And I can see how this can be controversial and a little uneasy for some people, which is valid, but to me, it shows kids, especially those who are transitioning into adulthood, that it's normal, it's a part of life, and it's nothing really to be ashamed about. The plot for this film was great. It was bizarre, wacky, imaginative, and something you've never thought of before. It still manages to follow the same flow of storytelling from other Disney and Pixar films while adding a unique twist. It goes well with the metaphors of being overwhelmed with emotions and being pressured with high expectations as you're growing up. Maylin is a very likable and relatable protagonist to audiences who are experiencing or have experienced adolescence. She's relatable in the sense that she goes through the struggles of trying to figure out who she is like every other teen, while also dealing with the pressures from her parents. Although she's geared more towards a specific demographic, anyone can relate to her in some capacity. What makes her likable is that she's embraced for the nerdy and overachieving person that she is, and she's not afraid of being herself. Her friends are just as likable, as they're supportive of Maylin no matter who she is, and they make the film more fun. My favorite character would have to be AAPI. She's bright, energetic, and overdramatic, which makes her hilarious, and she's the perfect comedic relief for this film. The representation within Asian families, plus the topics of transgenerational trauma and expectation of being the quote-unquote perfect child for their parents, blends itself so well with the story and Maylin's character arc. Despite not being a main character, May's character arc is the perfect demonstration of how trauma from their past can impact the next generation. Her arc mirrors Maylin's, further elevating the transgenerational trauma aspect of the story. The scene in the astral plane where Ming and her mother reconcile, followed by Ming and Maylin making amends, is going to hit home with a lot of families. While not everyone is going to relate to these characters exactly, there are themes that are relatable in some capacity, from finding out what kind of person you want to be, to trying to live up to one's expectation, which is stuff that I can kind of relate to as well. And even if you're not Asian, others can somewhat relate to these characters' story arc to their experience growing up in their household that might be similar. The animation was outstanding. It was bright, colorful, quirky, and so unique that you forget that you're watching a Pixar film. And the character design stands out from other Pixar characters. It complements who they are and matches their personality. And I think what really sets it apart from previous Pixar films is the influence of various anime style effects used within the 3D animation. And I think it's really cool that these anime effects were incorporated, considering that the director was into anime back in high school. You get a blend of two familiar things coming together to create something new. The music elevates the tone of this film and reflects the different aspects of the main character. The score was a perfect representation of the Chinese culture. I thought Göransson did a fantastic job with it, And if there's one thing that Göransson knows how to do, is to conduct a score that reflects the culture being represented. The original songs represents the character's love of boy bands and the 2000s itself. The fact that Eilish was born in the 2000s is what made her the perfect person to capture the sound of that decade. And I thought Eilish and her brother O'Connell succeeded in doing just that. The song selection really reflects the nostalgia of the 2000s. The fact that this film is set in Toronto during the early 2000s is what makes this film so special for me, as I was born in Toronto in 2001 and I practically grew up during that decade, so I felt represented watching this film, and I was able to pick up on some of the references from that time period and the city I practically lived in. I loved all the attention to detail that was being put into it. It was fun trying to spot these references that are littered in this film. The whole aura feels like a teen comedy from the late 90s and early 2000s, and I thought it was a great way to pay homage to the country and decade that Domi Shi grew up in. Her authenticity shines in this film. You can tell that this film is very personal to her, and she's expressing what it's like growing up Chinese Canadian from her perspective. Overall, I think this is the most authentic film I've seen from Pixar, from the representation of the Chinese culture and the coming-of-age story. It's a funny, heartfelt film with a strong message that a lot of people can resonate with. The animation was a breath of fresh air, which comes to show that Pixar continues to push boundaries when producing their animated films. It may be different from their other films, but that's okay. I thought it was a nice change of pace from what they have produced in previous years. I do think that this film is enjoyable for the youth demographic and the whole family. Alright, that sums up all of my final thoughts I have for this film, and if you agree or disagree, let me know down in the comments. And if you haven't already subscribed, it would really mean a lot. That's all I have to say, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!